really disappoints my wife. That debt was never settled. And
not total.
Yeah, and I can assure you that after I introduced that proposal to make sure that any gifts given by lobbyists would have to be disclosed to all members of the General Assembly, after which I think I got about 5 different legislators out of 100 to support me. I can assure you that any friendships I had with lobbyists were extremely strained. I understand that Jeremy's concerned about being accused of being a registered lobbyist, but the fact is, his employer said that we might be able to add a tax to the fee. His employers thought that it would involve a greater increase in revenue. His employers thought that it would involve more revenue going to government. The talking points that were handed out suggest that we needed to give greater powers and a variety of different taxing powers to local government. And so, no, I don't believe it is correct to say that it limited government or that it worked for smaller taxes. No, I don't believe that that's correct at all. Now, I want to tell you just a little bit about what I've worked for as a member of the House. I've worked to block Obamacare. Earlier this week, we passed a study, an ISP, the same type that Jeremy was talking about before, to make sure that Obamacare couldn't affect all of our health care. I have stood with a press conference with Brian King, as our House Republican leader, asking our Attorney General, Dustin McDaniel, to join the lawsuit against 14 states. I have worked every week. We had a meeting to block the ERA, which is a constitutional amendment that I think would have created a right to abortion on demand. And the reason that the president of one of our pro-life groups endorsed me is that we took a lot of time to make sure that that would never get through the relevant committee. I passed a number of bills working for lower taxes, working for the conservative agenda, and I'm the first and the only. I was the first and the only speaker at our Tea Party, the very first Tea Party we had in Little Rock, and that's because I'm willing to stand with the people who favor limited government and lower taxes. Now, I understand that there's some pressure and some disappointment about raising the question of whether we want to have a registered lobbyist or a state representative be our next state senator for the Republican nomination. All I can tell you is I think it's a fair question, and I think it's a legitimate question, because being a registered lobbyist involves a certain mixture of public and private business, and it involves being comfortable with making certain kinds of decisions that have little to do with the public interest and perhaps have too much to do with certain private interests. And so I can tell you, I'm going to work for the public interest. I'm going to work for lower taxes. I'm going to work for limited government. I've got a consistent history of doing that and not serving special interests. Special interests are not going to write paychecks for me. Okay? Thank you.